Welcome to Session 2 of Estate Planning Solutions for Families. We're glad you're joining us today. You've been thinking about your family, haven't you? And the importance of protecting them. Today we're going to learn about applying your family dynamic, setting your legal precedents, and making a generational plan for your legacy. So let's get started. You know, every family has a unique dynamic. You kind of want to think of them as snowflakes. There are large and boisterous families. There are families who are distant, far away from each other. There are very close-knit families. There are small families. Maybe there's just one person and you're the family. There's all kinds of families, and you want to think as you move through this course about your family dynamic, because we have a lot of different information in here. And some of it's not going to apply to you, or you might be thinking, hey, you didn't mention that. Well, that's because we can't encompass all of the different family dynamics that there are that make up the world today.
Right. The approach we have to take here is talking with somebody that needs to put their affairs in order right now. You may be a younger person that just got married and you're learning how to do this. You may be an individual that is faced with a situation where you're trying to figure out what you don't know because somebody has passed and they didn't have an estate plan. This is a good tool for that. Or you may be helping an aging parent put their affairs in order. There again, this is what we're trying to do, is hit the middle of the target, and you have to decide what pieces fit for you and which pieces don't. So let's continue on. Setting your legal precedent. This is so important. Let's take a look at some definitions. This one's a good one. This is how lawyers write things up. Analogous. Yeah, you'll have to Google that word up. So here's another one. Any act, decision, or case that serves as a guide or justification for subsequent situations. You see, lawyers work in the past. When a client comes in to their office and has a problem, they look back at other court cases. Which lawyer won that case? What were the things that they were using in that case that won the case? So they're always looking back. That's what you're doing by putting your affairs in order and then creating an estate plan. Is there's a point in time when you are setting legal precedent so that if something happens in the future and your lawyer needs to go back, this is what they're going back to. On this date, in this year, this person set a legal precedent that said, this is my stuff, this is what I want to have happen with my stuff, this is my agent, my personal agent, that I'm authorizing to access things that I have and put things in place for me, even on a temporary basis. It's a legal precedent. If you don't have that legal precedent set, you're sunk, and everything goes back to the way it was. So having your affairs in order and having an estate lawyer put your finances, properties, wishes, everything, you're setting that legal precedent should something happen to you.
And you know, this is why we are doing this. Our story and what happened with my mother and the book that we wrote, A Legacy Undone, was the whole reason behind our basis here for doing this. My mother was in a car accident, and fortunately, she and my father had put together an estate plan, a trust, prior to his death and prior to her accident. And throughout our story, that trust enabled our attorney to ensure that things were protected as they should be. If that legal precedent had not been set, we would have been sunk. There would have been nothing that we could have done.
Right, right. Very important. It's a defensive mechanism too, should stuff like elder abuse or elder financial abuse happen in your family. I can't reiterate enough, anything other than this is hearsay and not admissible in a court of law. There's no shortcutting this. You put your affairs in order, you get a great attorney, you have them put all of that in legal form, then you're set. There's no other way around it. It's the way the laws of this country are set up. Hearsay, I go back to the example I used with the lady in our workshop that stood up, and it's two friends just going through life. They're thinking properly. We need to plan, we need to talk about these things, and they did. But what would have happened would be if something did happen to that couple and the friend stepped in, she would have found out very quickly when going to Adult Protective or Children's Protective Services, that conversation didn't mean anything. That it now is in the hands of the law of the state, unless that first lady had put the guardianship papers in. And this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like when you find out everything you thought was right is now wrong. If this was that friend, this is how she would be feeling inside when she found out that those conversations, what she thought was going to happen, and her taking care of these kids is now out the window. She can certainly apply through the courts, and she can try and express that she is the one that they talked to, and she is the one that was supposed to take care of the kids. But, you know, the courts are going to look at her and say, prove it. And you can't prove a conversation. You just can't prove it. We'd like to really make legal planning generational too. This, as we've really torn down, why do more than 50% not have an estate plan? And one of the things we found out is the conversation stopped. There are different points in time going through life when we need to take legal actions and not think of things as much in putting your affairs in order, but always having your affairs in order. And through our free ebook, we're going to show you how that happens, where at different points in time, there are legal things that happen that you need to take action on, such as when you get married. That's when most people put their affairs in order for the first time. We don't want that conversation to be lost. It has to happen in this way. And we're hoping that you will be able to teach your family, and that your family will teach their family, and that will become generational. Right now, it's more of a, gosh, I left money, the next generation spent that money, the next generation figures out how they're going to make money. And we've got to get out of this cycle. This is how families boost each other, generation from generation to generation. And who's going to teach them? This isn't taught in school. It's not taught in college. If you didn't have a trust coming down through the family like Terry and I did, you probably wouldn't know. You wouldn't know about the conversation. You wouldn't know how to be a good trustee of a trust, how to be transparent, how to handle monies, how to work through the legal systems. Terry and I learned that through her family. So we're starting this conversation with you, and our free ebook shows you those different points so that you can start this legacy of your own.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure and download that free ebook and start thinking through your family dynamic and the different personalities and different people that you would want doing different tasks. In our next session, we're going to actually get down to the tools you will need to put your affairs in order. Thanks so much.